So, welcome, Stella. I'm so excited for this conversation because we had one just a few weeks ago and it wasn't recorded, but I wish it was. I think we both said that we wish it was. So, I'm so happy to be back with you talking. Stella is a somatic educator and a menstrual cycle coach, and I'm so excited to dive into this world with you today and talk to you about the work that you do, how you got to this type of work, and how women can access you in the work that you do.
Yes. Thank you so much, Nat. I'm super excited to be chatting with you today and exploring, unpacking a little bit more of what we've already chatted about. And let's just see where it goes.
Yeah,
Let's see what,
let's just chat.
yeah.
So let's start at the beginning. Like, what took
Mhm.
you into this work? How long ago did you begin working with women, and what inspired you to start?
Okay. Yeah. So it was something that felt very organic once it happened. So I started in about 2018. So about, what is it, 6, 7 years ago. And I started sharing this. This was when I was back when I was teaching yoga full time. And what I decided to start doing, because as I connected to my menstrual cycle, I wanted to get this out into the world. And what I did is that I started to integrate that cycle awareness with yoga and yoga practices, yoga asanas. So my first ever workshop that I put out there was called Empowered. And it was either a 4 or 5 week workshop series. And it was basically talking about each cycle phase. And within each cycle phase, we would do a yoga practice afterwards that would support that cycle phase. So that's how I started way back then.
I love that. But
Um,
how did you get the intuition to say, like, okay, in these yoga poses, like, how can this support women even more? Like, where was that feeling of like, oh, something is missing for me? Like, something doesn't feel right, you know?
well, I know you're also a yoga teacher, right? Like by our previous lives, right?
Yeah, decades.
Uh, yeah, another past life. I experienced it first and foremost within myself, right? Like there was times either when I was teaching and or practicing that I was like, hey, some days everything feels really smooth. My balance is there. I feel strong. Like I'm in it. Even when I'm teaching, it's like, boom, the cues are on point. And then there's other days where I'm fumbling. I don't know right or left. I don't have the energy and I'm struggling. And I'm like, what's going on? And I
Mhm.
didn't real until I started to understand the cycle, it didn't really make sense. And if we go back, like the origins of yoga was created for young teenage or preteen boys. So it wasn't necessarily created, the practice in itself, the asana practice of it for women or addressing women needs. So
Yeah.
for me, it was like very natural. It was like, hey, I know that I don't want to do powerful breathing while I'm bleeding, right? Like, or I don't want to do an intense, hardcore ab flow class when I'm bleeding. So I'm going to adapt it. So it
Yeah.
was just very like, of course, this is what we'll do.
Even in the studying, I don't know if you got this, but like the contraindications for poses, like not for bleeding women, not for bleeding women. And you're like, why? And they're like, we don't know. We just we think that it's not good. And you're like, so we need to dig in here.
A little more. Yeah. The only thing I remember was like, don't do twists and don't do inversions. And
Mhm,
that's it. And like, there was nothing deeper than that. Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
So you went on a quest.
So I went on a quest. That's where it started. It was like, okay, let's merge these two. Yeah. Um, and then it just unfolded very naturally because I continued to learn more and then study and do trainings. Um, it was it was something that happened initially for myself personally because as I was in like very deep in yoga and meditation, really like diving into my own inner world and doing a lot of healing and like, just getting more connected to myself. Um, there
Waking
was a
up,
part of myself. Sorry, go ahead.
waking up your intuition.
Yeah, well, that's it. That was missing that. So
Mhm.
wasn't missing. I was ignoring it. It's not that
Yeah.
it was missing. It was always there, but I was ignoring my more, I would say, like, say, my feminine essence, my feminine gifts. I was suppressing it. And I realized that, like, for a long part of my life, I rejected that yin, softer side of me. And the feminine is not just soft. I mean, she's fierce and powerful as well. But let's say my more feminine qualities was something that I suppressed and I rejected for a long time. And so through this time of my own inner work, I would start to get curious, like, oh, what is this part of myself that I just don't want to look at?
Mm-hmm.
And that is what brought me in connection with my cycle. And when I remember reading, I think we chatted about this last time, but the book Wild Power,
Mm-hmm.
which talks about the different inner seasons. So they look at each cycle phase as it was a season. And I remember I was in this apartment, like in the corridor, I'm just standing there and like jaw dropped, like, holy shit. Like, why do I not know this? Why don't people who menstruate, why don't we know this?
Like shivers, right?
Yeah, because
Like
everything
think
clicked.
about it.
Everything clicked. Like,
Mhm.
this whole time, no
Yeah.
one's told me.
We have another rhythm.
You know, I
Yeah.
remember, yeah. So jaw dropped. And then also because it was doubly shocking for me because I have a background in health sciences. So I have a master's in public health. I studied exercise physiology. One would assume that I would have a good understanding of how my own body works. And I didn't. I was like in my early or mid 30s, and this is when I'm figuring it out.
Mhm.
So yeah, I was like, what the hell? So for me personally, it was like, oh, getting super curious, like start to geek out and like learn everything I could learn about the cycle. And I realized that for so long, like I never even tracked my cycle. I had no idea. The only way I've shared this before. The only way I knew I was about to get my period was because of my premenstrual symptoms. Like I would suffer right before my bleed. And I would have like super, super painful, tender breasts, like would even hurt to sometimes walk quickly. Like I'd have to hold them. I get a lot of bloating. And for me, up until that time, so up until my early to mid 30s, I thought that was normal, like that was a normal sign of, oh, I'm about to get my period.
Yeah, because that's what we're taught. We're taught that we are meant to suffer.
Yeah, it's supposed to be painful. Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
Suck it up. Right. So
Yeah.
I just thought, I was like, oh, I'm going to get my period soon. And would just go about. So all these years from the time I got 15 to 30, like that's 15 years of my life of just being like, oh yeah, that's what it is. I just accept it. So
Yeah.
yeah, once I started to live more cyclically, I saw that those symptoms started to reduce. And I was like, oh, okay. Exactly like you said, we don't have to suffer. We don't have to be in pain. We are have this different rhythm within ourselves that we need to actually stop ignoring and begin to honor and like listen to and respect. And when we do that, we feel so much better in our bodies.
A woman. I 100% agree and believe it wholeheartedly. You spoke about this first workshop that you gave called Empower. Did you see the aha moment in other women when you were explaining to them the phases and being in a different rhythm and having these two cycles in us?
Yeah, I think that's what propelled me from eventually shifting to just doing this work. And, and I mean, I still teach yoga from time to time, but that really shifted because I saw the importance of it,
Mm,
because women were just like, oh my, the same shock. Like, why has no one ever taught us this? Why don't I know this? And
mm,
then women coming back and sharing their stories about how things were shifting, and like how it didn't have to be these dramatic, life-changing things, but like, oh, I'm resting more right before I get my period, or when I get my period, I've decided, I canceled plans or I postponed plans, and oh, I don't work so hard, or just making little shifts.
mhm.
They already started to see differences in how they felt in their body. And also, what I really, really loved because I went through that as well, is like looking at their bleed as something to be grateful for and to celebrate and to be like, oh, this is my moment to rest. It's like your reminder to slow down. Um, versus I'm annoyed. it- It's so frustrating, or being even upper, because a lot of women, if every time you get your period, it's super painful, of course you're not excited to be bleeding, right? There's apprehension and there's frustration and there's it's discomfort. There's discomfort. But once they start to make these changes and living cyclically, it's like, oh, I don't need to like the energy of fighting
Yeah,
soften.
it's just release and renew. Like I the actual bleeding phase is such a beautiful moment because our hormones are at their lowest, and it's a time where big picture thinking can happen because we understand our feelings, but we can bring logic in. So we look at a big picture and we see like, okay, what's new for us? What can I start building now? Like, what do I need to release? It's like the new moon, like we're
Mhm.
walking into a new phase, a new cycle. So, what are we leaving behind and what are we bringing in? And I think it's such a powerful time. And it's so nice to have those women have those moments of
Mhm.
reclamation, of having sovereignty over their own body and saying, like, oh, yeah, if I just listen to myself and attune, I can feel my best and actually take advantage of what this cycle offers me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's, you're talking about sovereignty, and this is what it is that women begin to trust themselves more, begin to trust their bodies, like the messages of what their body is like, those symptoms, how
Mhm.
you're feeling is your body communicating to you that something needs to shift, or there's something that you need to do to support your body. And the more they listen, the more their body is like, oh, responding to that. And so that trust really feels like, okay, I could trust what my body is telling me. And then it builds their confidence. They feel more empowered and it shifts how they show up in the world.
Mm.
Like for me, it's so much like, yeah, we start looking at our cycles, but the transformations are like way beyond that.
Oh my God, yes. And I love that you said, like, when you feel symptoms, it's like if you were sick and you were, your nose was congested or you're coughing, like you take
Mhm.
care of yourself. Like we have to understand that the symptoms of the reproductive system, this is the sick symptoms, and we have to tune and listen so that we can heal and then feel embodied and feel good and have these incredible transformations of being in a very healthy body. I think
100%. Yes.
that's
Yeah.
such important, incredible work.
And
Um, yeah,
oh, sorry, I just wanted to tag
please,
on to
yes,
that. Is that
please,
okay? Yeah.
yeah, of course, tangent to infinity.
Because I want to name though, because there's a lot of reprogramming that needs to happen, a lot of unlearning.
Mhm,
Um, for me, coming back to like, teaching women to reclaim, reconnect to their menstrual cycle, is ultimately a remembering. We know how to cycle. It's innate in our bodies, right? But because we live in a world where it is not talked about, not valued, not recognized, and we are expected to show up as if we don't have we don't have an infradian rhythm, right? Then this is why we override so many of those symptoms. We've been taught to override it. Like we said before, like, oh, you have painful breasts, you feel terrible right before you bleed, or you have painful period cramps or whatever. It's like, take a pill, take a aspirin or something and keep going. We were taught to override it. So it takes time. I mean, even myself, sometimes I notice when I'm on my period and I'm going slower, I'm resting more. There's a little bit of guilt in the background of like, oh, but you could be doing this and you could be doing that, because we've got to decondition what we've been taught.
mhm. Oh, I want to add on. I was reading. Do you know I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right. Christine Northrup.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes.
and so in her revised copy of one of her books, she talks about apologizing for being a woman. And she says that when women give, she's a obstetrician, so when she
Hmm.
gives, when she helps women labor, and the baby comes out and it's a girl, women often turn to their partners and apologize. "Oh, I'm sorry." And then when she was giving birth, she said this story of, she was on her second, she had a girl first, and then the second time, she didn't say it, but she was thinking it. She's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," because it's a man's world. Men have more clout, they have more power, they're more honored in our society. And so we are a part of that. And I love that you're bringing up the guilt and shame of taking care of yourself, because it's not from our generation. This is an ancestral, this is 5,000 years in the works of being brought up in a patriarch society of men being the forefront. And we're not little men, we are women, and
Mhm.
have another rhythm that we have to honor for our cycling years. And it's important to attune to it. I agree.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And
Uh,
that kind of broke my heart a little bit about hearing about, apologizing for
mm,
bringing women in the world,
mhm. Oh, her book, I mean, it's like 700 pages, but we're
Is it the women's bodies? Women, yeah, yeah, I have. I mean, I got it right here. This Bible.
yeah, just the Bible, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's really it's incredible, and what she talks about in it is so it's earth-shattering, because it is true when you live in a world where men are more important, and that's who's been
Seen
studied.
as more important.
Seen as sorry, exactly, seen as more important, then of course, just by default, we feel less than.
Yeah.
And some of us, in varying degrees of what that feels like, but subconsciously, we're constantly reminded of it. So, how can we show up conscious to those feelings and say, like, no, this is my right, this is my birthright, and this is what I need to do for my body, because this is how I'm going to live healthily in the world. Um,
That's yes. And that, like coming what I had talked about earlier when I felt realized that I was rejecting a big part of myself, my feminine essence, my feminine nature, it is because of that conditioning.
mhm.
Because there is a conditioning around, oh, there's weakness there,
Yeah.
you know, fragility in like, so they're like, oh no, I want to be strong. I want to be independent. I got this. And like while working in this hyper independent way that didn't allow me to tune into more of my intuitive nature, my soft nature, my emotions and my felt sense, like, what, and really listen to what my body was telling me. And
Mhm.
ultimately all of that is a slowing down, right?
Yeah. So that
Slowing down so we could actually hear it.
yeah,
You listen.
I think I said this to you in our first conversation, but it's like, I heard this quote and I forget from who, and I'm so sorry that I don't remember the name, but it was in before our menstrual years and after our menstrual years. So before puberty and after menopause, we feel the same every day, but a cycling woman never feels the same any day. And so how can we do the same things every day
Mhm.
if it doesn't feel good in our bodies to do them? Like you were saying, the yoga posture, I'm bringing it back.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
yoga postures that you were doing, some days you felt super powerful and flexible, and some days you couldn't even get up and stand up. You felt clumsy, like you didn't feel like it worked. And so how can we continue doing this without paying homage to saying, okay, this is part of my phase. This is, oh, I'm here now. Maybe I need to do this more. Oh, I'm in this type of my phase. This is what I need to do for myself. And I'm going to bridge it into the next question. So we keep talking about phases. Do you want to give a little explanation as to what are the phases? Like, what are we talking about?
Oh, this question. It's always such, I mean, it's such a big question because we could spend literally, like I said, 4 or 5 weeks talking about each cycle phase. But very generally, all right, we have like you have your follicular phase and your luteal phase. If we're looking at our cycle, and I'm going to let's just say 28 days.
Mhm,
And we could have a healthy cycle that is 32 days, a healthy cycle that's 25 or 26 days, but let's just say around that. So the first half of your cycle from the day one when you get your bleed till when you ovulate is your follicular phase. And then once after your ovulation till the next bleed, that is your luteal phase. So let's just look at those two. And then within that, we could look at the 4 cycle phases or the seasons. I really, when I read that book and I looked at the seasons, it really landed for me because there was a comparison. I know how I feel in fall or how I feel in winter versus how I feel in summer. And it really resonated with those qualities or those tendencies,
Mhm.
right, of the seasons. So I'll start at, let's say, our winter is, you mentioned the new moon, which is perfect. Our winter is our menstrual phase. So when we are bleeding, and those are the times of like, think about how you feel in winter. Those days are the days of like cocooning, hibernation, new moon, right? It's dark out. There isn't the light from the moon. You are really a time for like introspection, pause, rest, and nourishing yourself. What do you eat in winter? Like warm, healing, grounding foods. That's the beauty of the inner winter. And it's that pause. And when I look at it as a season, what's really important for me, like, we're talking about the guilt or the shame of like, I don't have the energy to do all of these things. It's like in winter, what happens in nature? The trees aren't blooming, like like things, everything's on a pause. There's hibernation happening. Animals go into hibernation and they're not out there feeling guilty about it, right?
I wouldn't like I wanna,
Go.
um,
Yeah.
say, like, maybe not the word pause because that feels like everything is still, but a deep rest, like a deep rest so that
Mhm.
can come back into harvest and we can keep growing. Like, I think there's something about pause that feels like, oh, like everything needs to stop, but it's not. Like nature doesn't stop. It just deeply rests.
Yeah, it's well, and like what's happening underground, under earth, like earth stuff is
Mhm,
still happening, but it's not at the same, yeah. So it's not at the same pace as what is happening, in summer or our ovulation phase. Yeah,
mhm.
that's fine. That's fair to say. And also, I mean, but sometimes, yeah, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
sometimes
Continue on.
people are in bed, some people do stay in bed for 2 days because they are honoring what they're like, if they're dealing with heavy bleeds or super painful periods and all of these things.
Mhm,
Yes. But it doesn't mean, yeah, you don't need to be bedridden while you're on your period, but it's more of the energy of like that cocooning, the slowing down, rest,
mhm,
taking care of, nourishing. As we emerge from that, there's like near the end of your bleed, transitioning over, your estrogen levels start to rise, and there's like this essence of a rebirth that is coming out here. And this is the phase of spring. So it's the same thing. How do you feel after a long, those of you people of us in North America, Canada, after a really long winter? How do you feel when the sun starts to come out?
You wanna jump out of your windows.
Like, hello, I'm alive. And we feel that because we've taken the time to rest and go slow, and then we're like, I'm ready to go out into our world. So there's this peak, or not, it's not a peak, but it's like this emerging energy that comes out as our estrogen level starts to rise. Our body's preparing itself for ovulation, for maturing the egg. We are getting curious. We're going out into the world. And for me, it's like the planting seeds season, right? Of like, what is it that I want to birth? What do I want to put out there in the world?
Yeah, it's
And
play
then, did you
it's
want to add something?
yeah, I'm just tagging on. It's building, it's creative, it's playful, it's fun. It's like, okay, yeah,
Mhm.
birth. It's really it's springtime.
I like, yeah, like this is the risk-taking time. This is the inspiration. I like, like surround yourself with those people that really inspire you, or go to things that are inspiring for you. Take a new class. Like this is that energy, right? And then when the estrogen peaks at its highest point, this is where we connect it to what we would say is our inner summer. So summer, peak heat, motivation, energy, radiance, like your libido is turned on because like naturally this is a time where we can, if we want to conceive, we would conceive. Like we're feeling flirty and magnetic and we're like, we want to
Mhm.
be social. We want to be out in the world. And this is the time where it's like, yeah, tap into that energy, you know? Um, example, when we were organizing, like when we would do our recording, I remember saying to you, like, let me just check what cycle phase I'm in before we get on this call, right?
Mhm.
And I'm just like I'm in my inner spring, heading to my inner summer. And I'm like, this is a good time to talk.
Great time. I also want to add in because in follicular it can be there can be anxiety. It could be frenetic. If someone feel like, you wake up and all of a sudden it's sunny for the first time outside, your eyes are darting everywhere. You want to see everything, you want to do everything. So how do you calm it? But ovulation grounds you automatically. It's like this inner knowing, this sunshine that's like beaming on you, this heat that helps your body ground and say like, I know I am. It's this reclamation, it's a declaration of everything you worked for in your spring season, in your follicular. Now you say it to your friends, you say it out loud because it's going to happen, because you're grounded in your inner knowing.
Mm.
Such a it's such a beautiful time. And yeah, and I think if we can, you know, schedule appointments on this time for things, it is such a beautiful time because that's where your words, your communication is flowing. It's so
Mhm.
fluid. It feels easy because it's an inner knowing, it's an inner grounded feeling.
I love that you share that because I mean, because again, I'm giving a very brief, overarching description, but like where we're planning, it's like, okay, this is great. When we're planting those seeds, it's like, okay, what is it that you want to take out, birth out into the world when, in that ovulation phase, or what are you claiming, or like, so that our energy, because you could get that frenetic energy or like that kind of dispersed energy, is like having a focus.
Mhm.
And even if we go backtrack all the way back to like our inner winter, it's not a time to take action, but it's a time to like almost witness consciousness, where you're stepping back and like there's new ideas that come in, but it's not the time to move into action. So it all kind of leads up to this point, and then it brings us like, things. I'm doing this with my hands, like I'm going from left to right, which is very linear, but it's not. It's a spiral. It's a circle. We're just redoing. We're going towards completing another cycle or another spiral.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, so then we're in our peak energy, we ovulate, beautiful, estrogen starts to drop, progesterone starts to rise. We are transitioning into the luteal phase, or that premenstrual phase, which is our inner autumn, our fall. And what I like to name about this phase, it's the longest phase.
Mm.
It could be between 10 to 14 days. So we really want to nourish ourselves during this time. And even within that phase, it's not like we're going slow automatically. There's a lingering energy that comes from our estrogen, and then there's the peak of progesterone. And progesterone is a very yin quality. So estrogen is a very yang quality. Progesterone is very yin. So what it invites, just like the season of fall, is just the starting to slow down.
Mm.
Because imagine if we were at this peak, peak estrogen, and then boom, you get your period, right? Like it's too intense. Like we already find it intense now, right? So it's a gradual. You have 10, 14 days to start to slow things down for that moment of hibernation.
Mm.
Yeah. And so doing those things that would like nourish that. For me, it's like spending more time in nature, not being social, but maybe not like, with big groups of people. It's more one-on-one
Mhm.
outings or like smaller groups. I get really creative during this time,
Mhm.
and so it's like, oh, tapping into the qualities that you start to notice for yourself in this phase, and saying like, oh, what do I need? How do I support myself? And like, oh, what can I? Okay, I'm not gonna force. For me, I'm not gonna force myself to be creative in another phase when I know, like, I'll just wait for that phase. It's gonna come.
Mhm.
You know.
I love.
And yeah, and so it's that transition to going into our winter. And so when both our estrogen and progesterone finally drop, that's where menstruation can occur, and we start a new cycle.
Mhm.
And what I love about all of this is that each and every single month, we have an opportunity to move through different seasons, right? Different ways that we can show up. And it's like New Year's every month. Like you have a new reset,
Love
new
that.
reset, reset, we have these little mini years in one month. And so that we go through these beautiful seasons. And when we start to acknowledge it and actually accept it, it's so smooth, it's so easeful, it's so beautiful. Like I look forward to my period. I get so excited when I'm like, oh, my period's coming. Like, because I know that's the energy that I'm gonna be cultivating and I'm not fighting it.
Hmm. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's giving you so much. Like it's not just about the bleed. It's exactly
Mhm.
the four seasons. It's the spiral. I made up a word called upward spiraling because every cycle gives us a chance to see what we want to cultivate and then to go into our creative zone, like he's like in the luteal, to really anchor it in. And what I also love about the luteal, and I know you're just giving like the
High
abridged
level, yeah,
is
yeah.
there is so much. And one of the things that I love the most is that Luteal offers like memory inducing nostalgia. So brings us back to see if we really truly want what we're doing, to see like, okay, is this really, I'm repeating myself, is this really true right now? Or is this something from my past that I need to let go of? And then the menstrual cycle allows that to happen. Oh, the reset, the release, the
Setting.
not spiraling downwards, but the spiraling upwards. And I absolutely love that all these seasons are here for us month after month after month after
Mhm.
month to just to just get into that creativity, to get into that intuition, to get into that emotional place that is very womanly, it's very feminine.
I love that you said like the truth part comes out. And um, one of the things that I talk about in this phase is kind of like this is like our no bullshit phase,
Mhm.
like, and think about it, like when you're, it could be very annoying at times, but it's just like when people are like, well, are you PMSing? Are you about to get your period? Oh, what's your problem? What
Uh,
it is not, it's not that, oh, okay, we're being erratic. It's just that as our energy, the hormones are starting to drop, we start to prioritize what is important, what is true for us, what is our, like, what is in alignment and what is not. So there's less patience, right, of stuff that doesn't serve us or that's not in alignment, and that we're not people pleasing in this phase.
mhm.
It really sheds a light on the things that we perhaps have been overriding, ignoring, people pleasing, right? We are ready to speak our truth. And I think it's really important to not dismiss those patterns or the things that come up for you in the space, because there could be something that's underlying there. Like I tell people, like maybe you're not necessarily going to act on it, but like if every month right before you bleed, there's something there in terms of your relationship or your job, or there's a theme and under, like, what's underneath that,
Mm,
because your body's telling you something
yeah,
that's not working.
100%. Think about it like like a nose being congested or like you're coughing. This is like the sign. It's like your reproductive system is like red flag, red flag, red flag.
Mhm.
Like,
It's not
oh,
working. Yeah.
it's nothing. Yeah, I love that. And it's like the 3 to 4 days right before the bleed. And it becomes like exactly like you said, the no bullshit zone. It's like, these are my boundaries. This is how much
Mhm.
I love myself. Like I'm skimming it all down. I'm seeing what's true. Here we are. I'm getting ready to go in. Like, I think that's such a beautiful way of seeing that part of our cycle. It's the truth serum. I love that. And I'm
Mhm.
to repeat that and I'm going to remember who said it to me. Can I ask, like, so speaking of the work that you do and how you explain this and how you go through it and talking to women about, what are these signs, like what kinds of women most often come to see you?
Mhm. Yeah. So a lot of times what I'm seeing is that, I mean, so it's typically women, I'm just like thinking even age range, women in, let's say, their mid 20s to late 30s, more and more even early 40s. A lot of women even moving with dealing with perimenopause. Um, but it is women who either are struggling in some way with their cycle, the reproductive system. They might be dealing with really heavy bleeds or very painful bleeds, or women who are wanting to get off their own hormonal birth control pills,
Mhm.
and they want to have support, in coming off the pill. So it's women who there's a challenge there. and they're like, hey, I don't want to do this alone. I want some support. And that's what I'm there to help them with. And it's also women who are like, maybe a little bit like myself. They're just like, oh, I know I want to connect to this part of myself. There's something missing. There's like a restlessness, and they
Mhm.
want to really dive deep and connect to their body in a way that's not only like intellectual. I understand what's happening, physiologically, biologically in my body, but I want to embody that. And because a lot of my work is somatics, is like, hey, how do we talked about like our bodies giving us messages, but how do I listen to these messages? What
Mm,
does that mean? And then how do I support my body? And we need to feel safe enough in our body to slow down and feel safe enough to actually listen to what those symptoms or those signs are, that communication is. So ultimately it's anybody who has a cycle, anyone who bleeds, who's like, I want to learn more about this part of myself, I want to connect.
mm,
And a lot of that, what I call, and I don't know if I said this earlier, but it's like it's this remembering. Yeah, it's
mhm.
ultimately it's a remembering. And people are talking about cycles so much more. Like back in 2018, I was a weirdo telling people online that I'm getting my period soon and talking about it. And it's like, well, nobody needs to know, Stella. I'm like,
I was
yeah, they
like,
need
I
to
need to know.
know.
I need to know.
Yeah, people need to know. But like I was the weirdo, right? And then now it's like more it's becoming mainstream and like or maybe it's just the world I'm in, but I love that it does come up as just normal conversation. So people are like, hey, there's something missing. I feel there's something missing and I want to reclaim that. I want to come back to
Mhm.
my body. And that's so many of like how women are coming to me and I'm like, yes, I got you.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
I love this, and I kinda wanna go off on a little tangent, and then I will
Yeah.
come. I was talking to a girlfriend this morning, actually, and I was saying how, and I'd love to hear your opinion of this, like, Instagram and TikTok world, almost revolutionizing the menstrual cycle and the reproductive system in women and saying, like, "We're done with lazy medicine. Like, we deserve to be seen." And because women in our DNA, in our biology, we are storytellers and we love to share. It's almost like this platform did us a favor to be like, here is the revolution. Meta, you had no idea that you were creating
It's
this
taken
whole
over.
but we are creating a revolution because women are popping up all over the media and saying like, I don't want surgery or the pill. I want something more. And I healed myself through so and so and so. And there's
Mhm.
so many different ways to heal ourselves that we're like, hey, doctors, what's going on? Why are you being held at the top of the totem pole, but you're only offering us something that stops our reproductive system or something that takes it completely away? We're done with it. You
Yes. 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 And this is the power of the having the knowledge because more women who were able, like, first of all, don't feel shame. Like we remove the taboo and the stigma around talking about our cycles, but then actually understand what's happening in their body. This is where we come back to our sovereignty, right? We demand and require more because it isn't just about suppressing my sex hormones and only worrying about it if and when I decide I want to start a family. It's like, no, we need our natural sex hormones. And there's like, so just handing over the pill to every teenager is not the solution, and we're done suppressing our hormones in that way, and then also all the consequences that come from taking the pill. And it's not shaming women who take the pill. It's like, for me, it's always about that informed consent. Do I understand why I'm taking the pill? Is this a long-term solution? Is this a short-term solution? How do I support myself for that time, and then what do I need afterwards?
Mhm.
And or yeah, so many women who are just being who struggle with fibroids or endometriosis, and it's just like, okay, so we're going to remove your womb. No, I mean, not there's other solutions or other areas that we could look at before we resort to this, right? And so it is a revolution, and I am so honored to be part, like a little drop in that, because we deserve more, and so much of medicine and health has been directed, funding, research, everything is studied on men for the longest time. And it's like, oh, hey, there's another half part of the population, the human population that is
51%.
deserving, yeah,
Yeah, I
of,
think
of being recognized. And it's happening, and I think a lot of practitioners, medical practitioners, have to level up now. They need to start
yeah, I think
widening their perspectives.
yeah, I agree full-heartedly, and I always hear like, "Oh, it's because women are so complicated," but we're not complicated, we're complex. And I think that's a very like it's a differentiating factor, and it's all in the wording, and it's very important to say, like you said, like it's not that I'm irritable, and it's not that I'm
Mm,
crazy, and it's not that I'm this, it's that I'm tuning into something that's no longer serving me. So please, like, help me, take care of me, make sure that it feels that I can grow up in a world, in an environment that also sees me, and I don't have to scream from the rooftops that I'm hurting, I'm bleeding, I can't
mhm.
I can't live well in my body, and then to be dismissed and say, "Well, it's because you're very complicated." No, 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 no. I'm not complicated. I'm complex, and it's time for you to study my body too. I deserve to be seen. Um,
If anything, as you're saying this, it's like, what for me, what's standing out of this, was highlighting, is that if anything, our cycle teaches us to be more in tune with the cycles of nature and to live in a more sustainable way.
mm,
Because I mean, let's step back and like, is the way we're living in this patriarchal lens sustainable? Right? The earth is suffering. There is hunger, there's famine, there's wars, there's like this hustle culture doesn't serve anybody. And our cycle is a way of reconnecting to the cycles of nature and like honoring those, and that it's not more complex. It is a lesson to be learned about how to be human, how to be alive in this world and connect to this planet in a way that is respectful, aligned, and nourishing. There's that this is the cyclical essence of it. And so we're not here to just
yeah.
attack, like go for it,
Yeah.
like a linear. We're not here
Walk
to be
away.
linear. So yeah, it is viewed as complicated when you're looking at just an endpoint, or you're looking to rush through things. And why do we let that be our dominant, like the standard? Why is that the standard? You
Yeah.
know, this is
And
the question.
I believe that it's changing. I believe that for the first time in our entire world, that we know it, women have a lot of money and power. And I was just reading that the daughter of Walmart, she, instead of, a lot of people buy different things with their money, and she decided to spend $189 million on a hospital that integrates functional medicine to understand the full body,
Mm.
and also created a school next to the hospital to fund doctors to learn this method and this approach. And she's actually paying for the first 5 years of anyone who gets accepted into the program. So no one even has to worry about financials. And this is the power of a woman having
Yeah.
money and being able to contribute to a society that is sick, that needs a new way, a different lens to look at what's happening inside of our sick society. Like it's really sad to read these stats. It's overwhelming, I should say, to read these stats about Alzheimer's, dementia, anxiety, depression, autoimmune disease, and
Yeah.
seeing the stats of like 70, 80, 60, it more than 50%, every single one of them, that it's more women diseases than it is men. And we have to see, like, we have to come to understand why. Why is that happening? Why are women so sick in our society? And why are we suffering from these tremendous diseases? And no one's relating it to our biology, and I think
Mhm.
it's so important, and what you're saying is so absolutely true, and it is like we're in a revolution, and things are changing, and so grateful that you were talking about your period in 2018 because you helped be a pioneer of this change. So thank you
Mm, mm,
so
thank you.
much. If someone felt called to work with you, how did they get in touch? Please let them know.
Mm. I mean, it's pretty easy. I'll send, I mean, it's just stella-artuso.com. And yeah, I work with women in one-on-one containers, either 3 or 6 months. And I do that intentionally because, you could get something from a one-off call, but this is a lifestyle change. It's a reconnection and it takes time. Again, we're talking about slowing down
Mhm.
and nourishing the nervous system so it feels safe enough to slow down. And um yeah, to reconnect to their body, reconnect to their cycle, their pleasure, like depending on what the needs are. But yeah, I work with women one on one, and I'd be so happy to support anybody who feels that call, because it does transform your life way beyond tracking your menstrual cycle. It's a whole game changer. Yeah.
Uh, Thank you so much for having this conversation with me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I just want to have more.
Yeah. I'm like, we could keep going.
That sounds-
Thank
um,
you, Nat, so much. I'm really glad that you're also using your platform to talk about these important things because there is a need. So yeah, it's a pleasure to be here and share my voice on these things, these topics. Let's do it. Let's keep sharing.
yes, thank you so much.